Texas. Now the Republicans are officially getting those 5 seats that they, rightfully deserve. Okay, I'm just playing. Now, look, fair is fair. If the Dems can gerrymander based off race, well, so can the Republicans. And the Republicans, they're not using the race card. They're not using it. They're just saying that, look, if you guys can gerrymander just on the basis of race, then why we can't gerrymander on the basis of it as well? Because we feel like the Republicans being ignored. I'm like, all right. So the Supreme Court lets it stand. All right, let's hear what they got to say about it.
Breaking news in our Law and Justice lead, and a major update from the U.S. Supreme Court on that Texas redistricting case. You'll remember Republicans in the state, in an unusual mid-decade review, redrew the maps, the congressional maps earlier this year. Let's get right to CNN Chief Supreme Court Analyst Joan Biskupic. Joan, what is the latest news from the U.S. Supreme Court?
Very big news, Jake, both politically and legally. The Supreme Court, the conservative majority over the dissent of the 3 liberals, has said that Texas can use the map that it drew last summer to provide potentially 5 new districts that could flip Republican and enhance the Republican majority in the U.S. House. And what?
So, the Republicans are just over here like, got him. But anyway, shout out to my man Hellbat. He says, bet you Hollywood having some trouble with finding their nose candy now. So through their, wow, hold on. Caught me off guard with that one. But he said, bet you Hollywood is having some trouble with finding their nose candy now. So through their bought out politicians are pushing against the strikes, which is crazy. He's saying, bro, the Hollywood's out there lobbying Congress, lobbying our senators, going like, look, bro, if you don't find a way to let these boats come over here, we're all going to go crazy. How do we make good movies without cocaine? You explain that. Explain that to the people. How do we make good movies without the cocaine? How do you think we get good music? And this is Hollywood pretty much complaining to their local senators, just pretty much going off on them, going about, we can't function without our cocaine. You will not get good music, good movies without the cocaine. Well, hey, man, sacrifices need to be made, right?
What they said is that a special U.S. District Court panel that had invalidated this map, saying it was drawn on unconstitutional racial lines, that Texas had actually divided people up by race.
Really?
This district court had said that, and Texas had come up here and appealed it, backed by the Trump administration. Today, the Supreme Court majority said no, that this map deserved more deference from the district court. The district court should have.
All right. So now we're going to be 38 districts, 8 strong Harris districts, 0 competitive Harris districts, 0 comparative Trump districts, and 30 strong Trump districts. So it's going to add what? So minus 3 seats, since there's only going to be 8 strong Harris districts. They're going to lose 3 seats, would mean Jasmine Crockett might be out of a job and she might want to go for senator at this point. And then, of course, 0 competitive Harris did was no change, 0 competitive Trump districts, which is minus 2 seats. And then, of course, they got 30 strong Trump districts, which adds 5 seats.
Taken into account a presumption of legislative good faith. That's been a standard that Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Samuel Alito have been really pushing over the years, to sort of let states do what they want to do, even if there could be a cloud of racial division there. So you had the conservative majority essentially.
No game, and I'm like, Senator, anything but that.
Now locking in this new Texas map that you remember has triggered all this off-year redistricting throughout the country, and at the goading of President Trump to shore up his.
I'm weak. Shout out JD's like, where's the good movie/music they speak of nowadays? Good point. Maybe if it was in the 90s, we can make that argument. But today is like, I don't know, man. That nose candy might be failing y'all. Might want to lay off it a little bit. Switch to something else.
Majority. Let me tell you a little bit about what the liberal.
I mean, shoot, y'all can still smoke weed if y'all want. I mean, y'all don't gotta do the nose candy. Y'all don't gotta do all that.
Dissenters said had happened here. Justice Kagan, writing on behalf
of
herself and Sonia Sotomayor and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, pointed to the fact that a district court had held 9 days of hearing, combed through thousands of pages of testimony about what had gone on in Texas. And this district court had also put a lot of attention on a letter from the Office of Civil Rights in the Trump administration that had pushed the Texas legislature to draw along racial lines. And the district court had found that indeed that this had been an unconstitutional racial gerrymander, that it wasn't drawn just on political lines, which, Jake, is allowed under the Constitution. You can divide people up based on their politics, but you cannot divide people up based on their race. And that's what the district court said had done.
And it was just hilarious because that's like what you guys have made arguments for redistricting on is race, that there are ignored communities. So it's hilarious that you're making that statement right now. It's hilarious that they're saying this.
There, and let me just tell you what Justice Elena Kagan said in dissent about that. What basis does the majority have to thus substitute its understanding of the direct evidence for the district courts? The short answer is it has none. So this is the end of the line for this Texas map. It can be used going forward now for the midterm elections, Jake.
All right, John Biskupik, thanks so much. Let's bring in CNN's Jeff Zeleny and also CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. Ellie, your reaction?
Well, Jake,
so it's a dark day in Gotham. I mean, Washington. It's a dark day in Washington for the Dems after the Republicans loom over the city and maniacally laugh over the 5 new seats that they got. As the Dems just sit in lamination. It was like hilarious. But all right, guys, let's see what the left is talking about when it comes to this Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo peace deal. Let's see what they're talking about on that. Let's see if they're giving Trump his kudos or trying to poke holes.
Just minutes ago, one of the longest simmering conflicts on earth may have come to an end, at least on paper. The leaders of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo signed a peace deal in Washington. The two nations and their proxies have been fighting on and off for nearly 3 decades. Donald Trump held to forge a deal and says it will encourage Western companies to invest in the rich mineral and mining opportunities in the region. However, critics say the peace agreement doesn't really address the core disputes between the two countries and may not end the fighting. But Trump insists this deal will bring prosperity to both nations. This is what he said just a short time ago. Have a listen.
Today, the United States is also signing our own bilateral agreements with the Congo and Rwanda that will unlock new opportunities for the United States to access critical minerals and provide economic benefits for everybody. And we'll be involved. We're sending some of our biggest and greatest companies over to the two countries, and we're going to take out some of the rare earth.
Oh, guys, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support, by the way. But let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen.
Take out some of the assets and pay, and everybody's going to make a lot of money.
Let's get some perspective on all this. I want to bring in CNN's Larry Mado, who's in Zambia, just south of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Larry, great to see you. Look, we'll talk about the critical minerals deal aspect of it in just a moment. But we've just seen it's just wrapped up. They've signed, they've brokered this peace deal. Importantly, it hasn't been implemented. Do we know in detail what's in this deal, in fact?
This deal builds on what they agreed in June, Issa, about a full and permanent ceasefire, releasing of prisoners, disarming the M23 rebel group, releasing refugees, and justice for those who carried out atrocities. President Trump said so himself. But what it does not do, and who it does not include, is the M23. That is a rebel group. That's
the M23 rebel group that I've been talking about is the main problem. And that's why they say the peace deal is limping, because the disarmament of this M23 military rebel group has yet to disarm. And it doesn't seem like, we kind of address any of their concerns. We've addressed, the Congo. We addressed the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we addressed Rwanda, but we never really took care of these guys. And I'm going to be real with you. These guys looking like they're about to be next up on the terrorist list. They're about to go from rebel to terrorist real quick. So we'll see what happens with these guys. Yes, but the M23 problem that's in Congo, I think is Western Congo, is still a problem.
Fighting the Congolese government in Eastern DRC that are allegedly backed by Rwanda. They're not a party to this. So why was President Kagame of Rwanda there? Because the conflict is between these two countries, and President Tshisekedi of the DRC accuses President Kagame of backing these rebels to try and destabilize his government.
Yeah, well, now Rwanda was backing these rebels at first. So they were backing the M23 rebels, but the rebels actually spun off and did their own thing. Like I said, it was a one-on-one, and then it spun off into a three-way war because the rebel group that Rwanda was backing ended up splitting off and having their own political agenda outside of what Rwanda wanted to do. And it was like it turned into a way more way more catastrophic situation.
And you can tell how much President Kagame and President Tshisekedi don't trust each other based on what they said. President Kagame said that if this deal fails, it won't be Rwanda's fault. That these Washington Accords, as they're called, have all the elements necessary to end the war. And then President Tshisekedi, on his part, said that we hope Rwanda can agree to the terms of this deal once and for all. So there's no back and forth about supporting militia groups and essentially reneging what they've agreed on. The two men barely looked at each other. I was watching their body language, and they barely shook hands, barely looked at each other. That's how much mistrust there is between these two men.
That is very clear from what I saw as well. There's a lack.
And they're only coming together because they both want to have economic prosperity by dealing with the United States through the minerals deal. If it wasn't for that, these guys would not be sitting down. They could not see any type of prosperity through this. They would not be sitting down right now, and they'd still be going at each other.
Trust here, which then begs the question, Larry. I mean, how far-fetched is this deal? I mean, how tangible, let me put it this way, is peace?
This Washington Accord, as they're called, will not end the conflict in Eastern DRC. Just this week, 2 days ago, both sides accused each other of sabotaging this deal because there was fighting continuing in 3 parts of the Eastern DRC. The Congolese military says they came under attack.
And as I explained earlier, there hasn't been a full ceasefire yet.
From the M23, and the M23 in a separate statement said that they'd been attacked by the Wazalendo, which is a militia group allegedly backed by the Congolese government. And so even while this deal is going on, there's no actual peace on the ground. And I was in Goma in September, and I spoke to the leader of the M23 rebel group, Kone Nanga, and he said they're not a party to this. They wish President Trump all the best, but they don't trust President Tshisekedi, that he is a crook. He used that word, crook. And he's gone back on every deal he signed before. Their intention is to go to Kinshasa and to overthrow him.
There is another element to this, Larry, and President.
Not really peace through strength, but peace through economic strength. I'll give him that one.
Trump, we played that little clip there, touched on that, and that is economic, right? The US is seeing this, using this as an opportunity to access critical minerals, of which, of course, the US relies heavily from China. Speak to that, the transactional nature here.
See, and that's what I told you, this is what they were going to kind of lean on. Instead of giving Trump his kudos and going like, you know what? The man did just pretty much stop a 30-year war, but they want to spin into it. Oh, well, he's only doing this for economic benefit. Who gives a shit? Who cares? If this man is able to wane us off of China while saving lives at the same time, I mean, who are we to complain about that? Like, why are we trying to spin this as, oh, it's only about the money? Well, let's be real. Yeah, you could say that, but it's also about saving lives as well, because both are happening. Well, both is this is what they're trying to achieve, because let's be real, taking advantage of their critical minerals is not going to be possible unless there is a full ceasefire, which is kind of getting a little bit hard to work out. And unless Rwanda and Congo want to team up to handle M23, then it's not looking like things are going to, stabilize anytime soon. Just, keeping it real. But all right, shout out to my man Hellbad. He says, since in Dem's eyes, all white people are racist, we should just say darker versions of white. It's funny on how many people I see triggered about it. Wait, darker versions? Saying all white people are racist, we should just say darker versions of white. I'm crying. Like what, Italians or Albanians or something? Like darker versions of white. Bro, all white people are going to start getting tan and be like, I'm not white, I'm just a darker version of white. Like, so looking at them people crazy, but I ain't gonna lie, I feel it. I get it.
That is a criticism in the DRC and in parts of Africa, that the US is not a clean arbiter in this, that it's interested in the rare earths. And President Trump said that they have signed separate bilateral agreements with both Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to access the critical minerals and the rare earths that exist in this region, this mineral-rich region. That, for instance, the world's largest reserves of cobalt are also coltan. These are critical in the manufacture of every.
Yep, the big one is cobalt. So roughly 70 to 8% of the world's mined cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo's copper belt. So yes, this cobalt, we need that. We would love that, and they got a very large sum of it. And this is one of the main reasons why we're working with them. And of course, they also got lithium. I mean, well, we kind of need it for our lithium batteries anyway. So let's see here. We need cobalt for our lithium batteries. We need it for our jet engines, gas turbines. Yep. And high performance magnets and defense electronics, high performance magnets like semiconductors. So we do need it. And of course, they got this thing called the copper belt. So of course, copper would be in there as well. You know, the wiring for everything, basically. And then let's see here. What else? They got a coltan and tin and tungsten. Yes, and we have tungsten here too. When we're trying to open our tungsten mines because it does actually help with these rare earth magnets. And we can start producing them ourselves now too. Now we're tapping into our tungsten, mining, our tungsten mines. But they got tungsten too, and we can get it from them as well. And that just makes everything better because we don't got to rely on China for it.
Everything from electric vehicles to mobile phones, and the world needs a lot of them. And President Trump has not hidden his intentions for that. So that is the subtext here, that people say the U.S. is only doing this because it's interested in those minerals, because there have been previous deals that have failed. And President Tshisekedi and Kagame both said that. There have been many previous attempts by the African Union, in Kenya, in Angola. These didn't work out. So why the U.S.? Why now? They praised President Trump, they praised Secretary Rubio, they praised Masad Boulos, who is his special advisor on Africa. But the critical minerals question cannot be ignored.
Yep, and it does seem like we will be working. I could see Trump getting heavily involved in this so-called M23 problem. The rebels that are not making this ceasefire possible. I can see him getting fully involved because we do need this stuff. We do need all of the minerals like the cobalt and the copper, and then of course you got the coltan, tin, and the tungsten, and that just feeds our batteries, electronics, weapon systems, armored piercing rounds, all of that stuff. We need it.
Yeah, Masad Boulos saying this is a starting point. We shall see where this leads. Larry, good to see you. And from Zambia, love Zambia, beautiful country. Thanks very much, Larry.
And now we're going to sign a very important agreement. Thank you.
Today at the White House, President Trump signing a peace deal between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
I'm done. Yo, because I'm a darker white person. Hilarious. Everyone's referred as white now. Even you said, yep, I guess so, because I'm a darker white person. Bro, they are not trying to hear that shit, bro. They are not trying to hear that hell bad, bro. They're going to be looking at me crazy, just like.
That shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Bro, they even going to throw this in there.
Stop it. Get some help. Stop.
Hosted the leaders first in the Oval Office, then nearby at the U.S. Institute of Peace. The name of the building was conveniently renamed just 24 hours earlier as the Donald J. Trump U.S. Institute of Peace. The building was, or maybe kind of still is, an independent nonprofit. It's stuck in litigation after the Trump administration tried to take over the Institute during the days of Doge. But back to today's signing ceremony. This agreement is supposed to end more than 30 years of conflict, dating all the way back to the 1994 Rwandan genocide. This year alone, the Democratic Republic of the Congo reports the conflict has killed more than 7,000 people and displaced 1 million others. The violence also involves militias, specifically the group M23, one of the most prominent of them. Just this week, M23 and the Democratic Republic of the Congo blamed each other for attacks, although Trump seemed to today brush that aside.
I think you're going to see very quickly, I think you're going to see things happen. This is something that was not doable, according to a lot of people. And not only is it doable, I think it's going to be a great miracle.
At times, M23 would claim control of large swaths of land and control of mining in the region for one of the most critical minerals in the world, and that mineral is cobalt. It's a major component in lithium-ion batteries and almost every rechargeable electronic device that you own. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is said to produce 2/3 of the world's cobalt. Last month, leaders of M23 signed a framework for a peace deal with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Among the prominent people at that ceremony, Masad Boulos. He is the father-in-law of Tiffany Trump, President Trump's younger daughter. Boulos is a billionaire. He serves as Trump's senior advisor on Arab and African affairs. President Trump gave him a special shout out earlier today at the signing ceremony.
And senior advisor for Africa.
Now, CNN, look, I see what y'all trying to do, but you know, this is actually a good thing for us, right? You know, the more we tap into our own mining reserves, the more we tap into our other countries' mining reserves and weighing off China, the cheaper that actually makes our products. I mean, it's not going to make it so expensive if there's a, let's see, I'll be real, if there's a scarcity, if too much of a scarcity, because us tapping into our own reserves or our own mining, that's fantastic. But then also getting it in from other countries outside of China, oh, that's even better. That's even better. And that helps us out in the long run.
Masad Boulos.
But we see what you're trying to do. You're trying to paint this as like, oh, it's all just a big money grab for the Trump family. Well, let's be real. People's lives get spared and saved, and people start making money. And Americans get to wane off China for rare earth minerals. I mean, why are y'all hating on that? I have no idea why. But I guess you got to pick at something. But all right, guys, let's get over to the right side of media and let's see what they're saying.
President Trump hitting the road again next week, back on tour to sell his economic agenda and hammer the Democrats who gave America the worst inflation in decades. Chuck and Akeem leading the charge to pin their mess on Trump.
He is in such an effing bubble